All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back. So we discussed regarding Pragati, what Pragati is all about. Welcome to the preparation of Pragati by Chandigarh University. We have already discussed regarding reading comprehension. We have discussed regarding fill in the blanks. Today, we'll be going ahead with another aspect of the exam, Pragati exam, which is grammar. Now, very important part as far as your exam is concerned. When we talk about grammar, what is grammar? It is basically really vast. Now, grammar, it is dependent upon morphology. As it says, what is morphology? Structure, forms of word. But not just morphologies. It is also dependent upon syntax. Syntax, arrangement of those words in sentences. That is grammar for you. Now, most of the students, they have issues in going ahead with grammar. So how do we go ahead with the same? What is the kind of tip or trick or tips and tricks that we need to know? We would be covering those up today. But before all that, let's go ahead for a tour of Chandigarh University. was a virtual tour of Chandigarh University. Let's go ahead with our topic, grammar. Like we said, tips and tricks, very, very important when we talk about grammar. First thing and foremost thing that all of us need to know, subject, verb, and object. Without it, generally the sentence is not correct or complete. So very important, every sentence should have subject, verb, object. And when we talk about subject, verb, object, we also need to understand that the subject and verb, they should agree with each other, which is also called subject verb agreement. Now, some of the students, what they do is they write in a singular subject, but with that, they write a plural verb. Please understand. For example, a subject is singular, he. The verb will have s/es and it will be a singular verb. So he plays. Whereas when we talk about plural, plural is they play. What is a verb? An action. Subject plus verb. He plays, they play. So subject and verb agreement is very important. Very important tip for grammar. When we talk about two singular subjects, when they're connected with or, we use singular verb. Ram or Sham, John or Nathan. When we have or in between, we'll be using a singular verb. Whereas when we have and in between, John and Nathan, we'll be going for are, which is plural. So please understand this trick. It's very important for all of you to know about the same. Now let's link ideas with conjunction. So any idea, we need to link it with a conjunction. We've already done conjunctions in our schools as well. A and. Now we are going to a very important tip and trick because most of the students, they actually falter at this. So when we have a and, this is non-definite. I want a book. Which book are we talking about? We have no idea. It can be any book altogether. But when we have the, it's a definite article. I want the book. Which book? Maybe red cover. So I'm talking about a definite book, right? So a and in the difference we need to understand. Then we have much, a lot, a little. We use these when we have uncountable nouns. We use these when we have for uncountable nouns. Whereas many and few are used for countable nouns. I have few friends. So countable nouns. Now use simple present for habitual actions. So that's your habit, right? The sun rises in the sky. It's a reality as well, right? Present progressive for the current action. These tips and tricks, all of us need to know before we progress for grammar further. Now, we'll be going ahead with tenses. So this is for your overview. What are tenses? Some of the students, they have difficulty in understanding or rather differentiating between simple, continuous, perfect and perfect continuous tense. So herein, for your better understanding, what I've done is I have taken into consideration two words, he and watch. These are two words. Now look at the tenses. Present, happening today. Past, something which has already happened. Future, which can come, which is going to come, right? So simple. He watches. If I talk about present simple. Same thing I go for past. He watched. Future. He will watch. So this is pretty simple. When we go on to continuous, something which is happening, which is continuing. So therein we'll use verb plus ing. If we talk about present continuous, he is watching. We talk about past, he was watching. We talk about future, will plus be plus verb plus ing. So he will be watching. Future. Let's go to the perfect tense. Perfect, he has or have what. So when we take into consideration perfect tense, we use have slash has depending upon the subject, verb plus ed. So he has or have watched. Then we talk about past perfect. Past perfect, he had watched. We talk about future, he plus will plus have plus verb plus ed. He will have watched. So understand how we use the different words in the different sentences in the tenses. Let's move on to perfect continuous. Perfect continuous, we'll use subject plus have slash has plus been plus verb plus ing. When we talk about present perfect continuous, he has been watching. They have been watching. Let's go to the past perfect continuous. Because we have a singular subject here, he had been watching. Past, had been watching. When I go to the future, will have been verb plus ing. He will have been watching. So that's why I hope all of you understood the same. That's why I took into consideration just 2 words, so that these 2 words can be converted into different sentences based on the tenses. Any questions, please write down in the chat box. I hope you've understood, all of you understood regarding this. Let's move on to the questions now. Now, I'll be putting in front of you the questions. I'll be reading that question out to you. You will be given 30 seconds to write down the correct option according to you in the chat box. Then we'll go ahead and explain the solution. So let's go ahead with the first question of grammar. Dash water was in the jug, so a crow survived. All of you have 30 seconds. Please write down the correct answer according to you in the chat box, please. 30 seconds, everyone. Hurry up. Let's see your participation. Hurry up. Everyone, 10 seconds left. Everyone, please hurry up. Let's see your answers in the chat box, please. So the answer to this is a little water was in the jug, so a crow survived. It is option A. The thing is, why a little? A little is basically used for positive sentences. A little means some of it. Little, there is little hope of his survival. It is generally used as a negative, in a negative way, right? So the answer would be a little. I hope most of you got this correct. If not, I hope you got the answer to the same. Let's move on to the second question, everyone. Dash, it stopped raining when we started our journey. Dash, it stopped raining when we started our journey. Everyone, 30 seconds start now. Please write down the correct choice in the chat box. Hurry up. Let's see your participation, everyone. Fifteen seconds left, everyone. Please hurry up. Five seconds. And there we go. This is be hardly had. Now, why is it hardly had? Hardly is used whenever there is when in the sentence. So it stopped raining when. So whenever when comes in the sentence, we will use hardly word. So hardly had it stopped raining when we started our journey. I hope all of you got this correct. Let's move on to the next one. The third one. Now, students get confused in this as well. So let's see your answer. Do you know the dash of your religion? 30 seconds start now. Waiting for the answers. Hurry up. All right. So the answer to this is D. Principle. PLE, which means laws or rules. Some of the students, they take option B here. B is basically head of school, whereas D, PLE, is related to laws, rules. So that would be the answer to this very question. Let's move on to fourth one. She is studying in dash Canada. Now this is an article question. A and the. So please be careful while answering this question. She is studying in dash Canada. 30 seconds start now. Answers to this, please. Question number 4. Would it be A? Would it be the? Would it be an? Or would it be none of the above? Hurry up, waiting for the answers. Just 5 seconds left. Hurry up. Let's see how many of us get the correct answers to this. All right. The answer to this is none of the above. That is D. There would A would not be used, and would not be used, the would not be used. Basic rule for all of you to understand. until and unless we don't have united or republic or union in front of the country's name, we would not put any article a and the in front of it. So the United States of America, why did the come there? Because United is mentioned specifically, right? The Republic of China. So please be careful about this. The answer is D. Let's move on to the fifth question, everyone. The driver dash not control the bus. Therefore, the accident took place. 30 seconds. Please give the answers. Hurry up. Let's see your answers. The driver dash not control the bus. Therefore, the accident took place. 15 seconds, everyone. Let's see the answers coming in the chat box. Hurry up, hurry up. Let's see the answer coming in. 5 seconds. So the answer is D. The driver could not control the bus. It was not in his hands to control the bus. Had would not be feasible. That means he did not. Would not, he would not try to control it. Can, he didn't have the ability to do it. Could, he could not try to control the bus. Let's go to 6th one. It is related to parts of speech, of grammar. I bought a beautiful dress at the mall. What is beautiful here? Is it a preposition? Is it an adjective or a noun? Please write down your answers in the chat box. Hurry up. Let's see the answers coming up. What is beautiful here? Is it a preposition? Is it an adjective? Is it a noun? Let's see the answers coming up. Waiting for your answers, guys. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, everyone. So the answer to this is B, adjective. It is the quality of that dress, defines what that dress is all about. That is what adjective does. Preposition is associated with the direction, the place. Noun, of course, the name, place, thing associated with that. So the answer is B. I hope all of you got that correct. Let's go on to the 7th question, which is also associated with parts of speech. What did he ask you to do? What is he here, everyone? Is it a conjunction? Is it a preposition or a pronoun? Hurry up. Let's see your answers in the chat box. Answers, everyone. It is a pronoun. It is a pronoun. So he, she, anything that depicts noun, pronoun. So basically, the answer is C. Let's go on to 8th one. I don't work on Sundays. What is work here? Is it a verb, an action, adjective, as I've already shared with you, a quality, or is it an adverb? What do you think it is? Work on Sundays. Hurry up. Answers, answers. Answers to this, please. Waiting for the same. It is a verb which depicts an action. So work is an action which is depicted. So it is a verb, which is A. Let's move on to the next question. Ninth question. Well, I don't think I'll be able to come to the party. Is an interjection, preposition, or pronoun? Answers to this, please. Waiting for the answers. Hurry up. Everyone, it is an interjection. Well is an interjection. Now, hooray, oh, anything associated with interjection, exclamation mark comes in interjection. Well, interjection, right? Let's move on to the 10th one. My sister speaks good English. Which is a verb here? Action. Verb is associated with action. What according to you is verb here? Come on, let's see some answers coming up. Is it brother? Is it good? Is it speaks? Is it none of the above? Which one is in action? It is speaks, depicting an action. Speaks. I hope all of you have got this right, everyone. Speaks. Let's move on to the next one. I would like to dash play the piano. I would like to dash play the piano. Can, could, be able to. Answer to this. Hurry up, hurry up. So the answer to this is I would like to be able to play the piano. I hope most of you got this right. Let's move on to this next one. Will people dash live forever one day? Be able to, could be able to, ability. Answers. Will people live forever one day? Answers. Will people be able to live forever one day? That is the answer. I hope all of you got that correct. So last questions. Did you pay ₹100? It dash have cost more than ₹50. What according to you is the answer? Come on, hurry up. The answer is shouldn't. The answer is B, should not have cost more than 50. Let's go to 14th. He will not be dash the bus today. Hurry up, answers, answers. Would love to see your answers on the same. Waiting for the answers. The answer to this is taking. Taking. C. He has not taken the bus. When we have today, he will not be taking the bus. Present. All right. So I hope all of you have learned something today, some aspects of grammar. Now, Mr. Amit will be taking you through different aspects of logical reasoning and aptitude. Before that, let's go ahead and take a tour of Chandigarh University.
Hi guys. So today again we are here to discuss some topics from the quant section and the reasoning section. All right. So first we will discuss a topic from the quant section, that is profit and loss. Okay. So in every question I will give you some seconds. First try to solve it by yourself. Then I will give you the answer. All right. All right. So first I'm telling you the content. So the content from the topic profit and loss that we have to discuss today is in front of you. Today we have to discuss, these are the subtopics. Number one, we have number one, we have definition. First, we will discuss the definition. After that, we will discuss the discount based concept. And third, we will take a relation between these, the three terms, CP, SP, and MP. And after that, we will discuss the successive discount. And the fifth one is dishonest seller man. And the number 6 is the selling price of two articles is same. Then at that moment, what you have to do and how you have to approach the question. All right. So the first point that we have to discuss is, number one thing is the definition part. Okay. So the definition is, what is cost price and what is selling price. If you will talk about the cost price is the price at which you will purchase the article. All right. And after that, there is a selling price. The selling price means what, at the price at which you will sold the article, right? So these are the two terminologies that you should aware about, right? And number three terminology that you should aware about is MP, that is market price, that is marked price. All right. Okay. So these are the three terminologies that you should know: CP, SP, and MP, right? So after the definition of CP and SP, we have some relation between CP and SP, right? So there are two conditions. There is a possibility the CP is greater than the SP. The number second condition, the CP is less than the SP. So whenever we are saying that we are purchasing article and the cost price is greater than the selling price, at that moment you will, so we are getting a loss, right? And in the second condition, when there is a CP which is less than the selling price, at that moment you will say we are getting profit, right? So how to find out the loss? For finding out the loss, you can simply say that this is CP minus SP. Why? Because CP is greater than SP, right? And why in the second case, why we are saying profit is equal to SP minus CP? Because in this condition, SP is greater than CP, right? So these are the two things every time you have to use whenever we want to find out the loss and the profit. After that, if we will continue this loss and profit, we have two terminologies, that is loss percent and profit percent. So what is loss percent, what is profit percent? You should be aware about these two things. So both word profit percent and loss percent always find out with respect to the CP, means the cost price. So when there is a profit percent, you will say profit by CP into 100. And when there is a loss percent, you will say loss by CP into 100, right? So these are the two conditions that you should be aware about, right? So after this, we should move toward the next part of our topic. The next slide we have is this. Okay. And here I'm taking some basic example that you should be aware about, right? Number one, let's say there is a profit of 10%. At that moment, how will you compare the cost price and the selling price? And let's say you are saying loss is 10%. How will you compare the selling price and the cost price? So it means that when there is a profit of 10%, how you will relate CP and SP? So you will say when there is a profit of 10%, we will always say that our cost price is 100%. And the selling price will become what? The 10% more than the cost price, that is 110%. All right. So this is the relation when we have profit percent value is given in the question, right? Number two condition, when there is a loss percent is given, here it is mentioned 10% loss. So how you will compare the CP and the SP? You will say we have seen that in the previous condition, the cost price is always 100%. So when there is a loss of 10%, we will say that the selling price is nothing but it's 90%, and we can compare our values, the given value in the question with the 90% and with the 100%. All right. So this is the part number two. Okay. So after definition, we have discussed how to use the things, right? So after this, we are moving toward the next slide, and where we will see that how to use other concepts of the topic, right? The number next is example, right? So let's take one example so that you can better understand the definition part, right? Let's say we have the CP is given in the question and the SP is given in the question. The question is a man buys an item for rupees 30, means this is CP is given in the question. CP is 30, right? And this is sells it at for the rupees 36, means this is SP is given. The SP is 36. So clearly we can see that here SP is greater than the CP, it means we are getting a gain here, right? And the gain is nothing but it's rupees 6, right? So how you can find out the gain percent? We have clearly discussed in the slide number 2 of this session that gain percent is always gain by CP into 100, right? So we will always compare our gain and loss with the cost price, with the price at which we will purchase the item, right? So that's why we are saying the numerator part is 6 here. Numerator part is 6 here, and the denominator part is CP. All right. So 6 by 30 into 100, you will get 20% is the gain percent, and that is our final answer for this question. All right. So after this, we are moving toward the next part of our session. The next is the same question. Now you have to give me the answer of this question. I'm giving you some time. Try to solve it by yourself by applying the same concept that we have used in the definition part in the slide number 2. Okay, try to approach this question and give me the answer in the chat box. And I will suggest you, if there is this type of question in front of you, always do one thing. Never assume X and all things, right? Always start with the 100, right? So you can simply say that we do not have the CPs here. Let's say there are some person here. Let's say there is A, there is B, right? There's A, there's B, there's C. Let's say A sells a good to B, means let's say A purchased this item at rupees 100, right? And A sells a good to B at a profit of 20%, means A is getting a profit of 20%. So we can say that A sell this item to B at the cost of 120. All right. Now, again, what is mentioned in the question, B sells it to C at a profit of 25%. If the profit is 25%, profit percent is 25%. So you will simply say B sell this item to C at the cost of 120 multiply 125 by 100. All right. So like this, we are saying here, if you will look here, what we are doing, we are going from here to here, 100 multiply 120 by 100, right? In the same way, we are doing the what we are doing, we are increasing this value 120 multiply with the 125% of original value, right? So if you will solve it, you will get 525 by 125, 25 400, and you will solve it 4 3 12 0, you will get 150, right? So if we are assuming A purchased this item at rupees 100, so C purchased it at rupees 150. But what is mentioned in the question, what amount A paid for it? Actual amount you have to find out. But right now we have 100, 120, 150. These are the assumption value, right? So how you can find out the real value? How you can find out the real value? When we will compare the real value with the assumed value. And what does it mean? It means if C pays rupees 225, it means simply 150 unit is the assumed value, and this is equal to nothing but rupees 225. All right. Now we have to find out what amount A paid for it. So A paid according to the assumption is 100. So you have to find out the value of 100 only. So how can you find out? The 225 divided by 150 into 100, right? So when you will solve it, you will get what? 0, 0 cancel, 5, 3, 15, 5, 2, 10, 3, 7, 21, 3, 5, 15, 75 into 2 is what? 150. All right. So we can say that the option number A is correct. Luckily, we can see that here when we are comparing the original value with the assumed value, right? So we are the calculation is easy here, but sometimes the calculation is tough. That's why we solved the question by assuming 100 only at the starting. Okay, so let's move toward the next part of our topic, profit and loss. The next slide is this. Now, initially that I have discussed, the content we have to discuss in the class. The third in the content part, you have seen that I have also mentioned the discount part. So that the time has come, we have to discuss the discount definition. What is the meaning of discount? How we can use the word discount in the questions, right? So always remember there is a chart. Let's say you purchase some item at cost price, right? And let's say you are a shopkeeper. You purchase this article at CP and you marked some price on the article, let's say MP, right? And after that, you are giving some discount on it and you are selling it, right? This is selling price, right? So this is the chart that you should be aware of. First, what we are doing, we are purchasing article. The shopkeeper is purchasing article. After that, we are marking some value more than the cost price, that is called market price. And after that, we are giving some discount on the market price. And that after giving discount, the value we are getting, that is called selling. This is the chart that we should be aware of, right? So that's why we are saying whenever we have to find out the value of discount, how we can find out the value of discount? Simply, you will say that the market price minus selling price, this is called our discount. And this is the final definition of the discount. And here you can see that the selling price is MP minus discount, right? And always remember one thing, there is a key point here. Discount is deducted from mark price only, right? You cannot deduct discount from the cost price. You will always give discount on the market price, not on the cost price value, right? So that's why this is mentioned here. Discount is always calculated on MP, right? In the end, we have discussed the loss percent. We have discussed profit percent. There is a third terminology we have, that is discount percent. And discount percent, as we have seen that loss percent, profit percent, both we have to compare with the cost price, but discount percent we have to compare always with the market price, right? So that's why we have discount by MP into 100, and this is called a discount percent. All right. Now, before beginning the next slide, let's take a tour of the campus. All right. So I'm sharing a video with all of you. So this is the all right. All right. I hope the PPT is visible now, right? PPT is visible now. I hope PPT is visible now. Okay, all right. So I have left here where we were discussing the discount word, the percent discount word. Now the time has come, we have to discuss the next terminology from this chapter, right? That is, like we have discussed, the profit percent is given, loss percent is given, right? Now there's a third terminology, discount percent can also be given in the question, right? So like we have assumed in the CPSP part, if there is a profit of 10%, you will say CP is 100% and the selling price is 110%. In a similar way, we will see here, simply you will see that simple, we have the discount, we have 10%, right? If we have discount is 10%, now you will compare with the market price. Your market price is 100%, you will say selling price is 90%, and that is called the market price selling price relation, right? Now after that, we have some point, listen very carefully. There are certain conditions. The condition number one, there is a condition when the CP, SP, MP in this scenario, for example, CP, SP, and there is a MP here, right? So when we are saying the MP is the largest value, this is the largest value, right? SP is greater than the CP, SP is greater than the CP, and the market price is greater than the selling price, right? Obviously, the market price is greater than the selling price when we are giving discount, right? So this is the first scenario. But in the second scenario, when there is a no profit, no loss. What does it mean? No profit, no loss means simply means the selling price is equal to the cost price. It means in that condition, that's why we have clearly mentioned here, the CP is equal to SP and market price is greater than both, right? Why we are saying that? Because we are getting here no profit, no loss, right? In the third condition, when there's a loss here, right? Like in the first, we have profit. In the first, we have profit. In the second, we have no profit, no loss. In the third, we have loss only, right? And when we are getting loss, the simply in this chart, you can see that we are getting loss. Why? Because our selling price value is less than the CP. That's why we are writing down CP first, then SP first, then CP, then market price, right? So these are the relation between the CP, SP, MP according to the condition, right? If there is a profit, there is a different relation. If there is a no profit, no loss, there is a different condition. And if there is a loss only, there is a different condition. All right. Now let's move toward the next part of the topic. Let's say we have this. Okay. Now let's say we have here, you can see that we have three successive discount. What does it mean? We have three successive discount. Listen very carefully. Let's say I'm giving you one example. Okay, let's say we are giving a discount of 10%. Then we are giving a discount of 20%. Then we are giving a discount of 30%, right? Now we have to find out a word. Listen very carefully. Effective discount, right? Effective discount. What does it mean? What does the meaning of effective discount? Let's say initially we have 100, right? Like I have given one example here. Let's say this is the initial value. This is the initial value. Like if we have 100 is the initial value and you are giving a discount of 10%. So obviously the remaining value is 90% of the 100, right? And that's why 90% is 90 by 100. That's why we are writing down here 0.90, right? So the after first discount, the final value will become, listen very carefully, the final value will become this only, right? So this is the final value after first discount. Now, if you are giving the second discount 20%, you will give discount on this value only, right? So that's why if you are giving 20% discount, the remaining value we have 80%, that is 80 by 100, and that's why we are writing down 0.80, and this is the value after second discount. All right. Now we are giving third discount also. So you are giving third discount on this value, on this total value. So 30%, the remaining is 70%, and this is called 70 by 100, and it is 0.70, right? So the final value you will get 100. If after getting three continuous discount, three successive discount, your value will remain only 50.4. So from 100 to 50.4 we are coming, right? So the gap is called the total discount. That the gap is called effective discount. Okay, so this is the terminology, effective discount. How you can use that in your questions? Simply by applying this method that I have represented here. All right. Now after this we have to discuss one quick method that you can see definitely in your exam, right? Let's say we have two successive profit is mentioned, right? The first profit is X%, the next profit is Y%. As you all know, in the first session, in the second session, we have discussed the percentage topic, right? And in the percentage topic, we have discussed effective rate, right? So we are picking up the particular formula from there, right? So X plus Y plus XY by 100. What does it mean? Let's say first we have some profit, right? Let's say 10% profit, right? You are using with the plus 10. After that, you are getting again 20% profit. You will say it's 20%, right? Now, after that, you will say plus 10 multiply 20 by 100, right? So 0 cancel, 10 and 20, 30, and 2, that is 32. So you will simply say after, if you are successively, you are getting two profit. First is 10%, the second is 20%. So overall, the profit you will get on your original value is nothing but 32%. And that is a formula you can use to solve your particular question when there's this type of condition is given in the question. All right. Now, after that, we have a few more concepts that you all should aware, right? The next point is this, right? The same we have discussed in the previous slide, right? This is the same concept. Okay, so we are moving toward the next part. Okay, let's say we have not profit successive, not we have profit. Let's say we have first profit, we are getting then loss, right? So whenever we are getting a loss, you will put value with the minus sign, and when we are getting the profit, you are put value with the plus sign. That's why here it is, you can see that this is mentioned, right? So you can see that that's why it is mentioned here is minus here with the y minus. That's why this minus plus minus minus, right? That's why it is minus here. So this is the final result. Okay, so we can use that simply, right? Now let's move toward the next part of the class. Okay, so let's use the successive result in a particular question so that you get the idea how to use the concept, right? So look at the question carefully. Now read the question. Now Paresh purchased an iPod of rupees 7,500. All right. Now sold it at a gain of 24%. Right. Now what happened? Listen very carefully. From that amount he purchased another iPod and sold it at a loss of 20%. So you can see that successively you are getting a gain and successively you are getting a loss. That's why you can use, but you have to find out overall gain and loss, right? So obviously there is only one thing happen. It may be loss or it may be a gain. Okay. So first you have to predict it is a gain or a loss. Okay. So simply you can put the value in this formula and you can find out the result, right? So we have first profit. That's why you were applying first this formula, because in the previous slide we have seen that If the profit, you will use x plus y plus xy by 100. If there's a profit loss, you will use x minus y minus xy by 100, right? So that's why plus 24 minus 20, right? This is minus 24 into 20 by 100. So this is 4, right? You can simply solve it and you will get simply 0.8% loss. And that is your answer. You have to find out the overall gain or loss. Simply what you have to find out, the 0.8% of the cost price, and that will be your answer. Okay, so this is the answer, and your answer will be 60. And 60 will be your answer. All right. So this is the way you can use the formula, the successive change formula in your profit loss questions. Okay. So after this example, I'm giving you one question so that you can better understand the scenario. And the question is this. Okay. And I will suggest you first try to attempt this question by yourself. After that, I will tell you the answer of this question, and try to give answer of this question in the comment section. Tell me the answer in the comment section. Okay, give me the answer. Because the situation is still same. First we have gain, then we have a loss. You will simply put what? You will simply put the logic. You will simply say we have gain, that is 35 minus 20 minus 35 multiply 20 divided by 100, and you will simply say this is nothing but 15. All right, this is nothing but this is 15. Okay, so this will become 15 minus 0 cancel, 70 by 100, 70 by 10, that is 7, that is called 8%. So overall you can see that the final value we have plus sign, positive sign, and whenever we have positive sign, at that moment we are getting profit percent, and whenever we have minus sign in the final part, at that moment we are getting a loss. That's why in this question we have 8% profit, and simply you have to find out the 8% of 4,000, and this is answer we have 8432. 320 is the final answer we have, and the answer of this question is option number B. So option number B is the correct answer. So this is our answer. All right. So you all can see that simply the content I have shared in the first slide is we are using the same content in every question, in every example, and you have to be very clear whatever we are discussing right now. If any confusion, you can put your queries in the chat box, and in the end of the session, definitely I will try to take your queries. Okay. Now after this, we have one more type of concept. Okay, that is called false weight problems, right? So what happened in this type of concept? A shopkeeper purchased some article. Let's say shopkeeper purchased some article, let's say 100 gram, right? But he cheated there, right? What type of cheating was happening, right? What type of cheating? That it is clearly mentioned here in the definition itself. If a trader professes to sell his good at cost price but uses false weight, what does it mean? It means simply if the trader purchased 100 gram item at rupees 100, right? But he is giving 80 gram, let's say 80 gram at the same price. It means he is getting some profit definitely. And that's why in this type of condition, you will simply use this formula, gain percent, that is equal to error divided by true value minus error into 100, and that is called final value gain percent. And you can simply directly use this concept in the questions, right? And I'm showing you how to use in the question, right? This is the question, right? And you can see that here, a dishonest dealer uses a scale of 90 centimeter instead of a meter scale. And you can see that the dishonest dealer is not using 100 meter scale. He is using 90 centimeter scale, means he's giving a gap of 10 centimeter, right? And this is gain percent, right? So we can use the formula error divided by true value minus error into 100, and this is the final result we have. So numerator will be definitely the error part, that is 10 centimeter, and the denominator will be true value minus error, and true value is what we have, 100 minus 10, that is 90. So denominator will be 90 into 100, and when you will solve it, you will get 11 by 9%. And this is called our final answer, 11 by 9%. This is our profit percent. Okay, so simply we can directly use the formula error divided by true value minus error, and we can easily get the answer. Okay, Now, after moving toward the, let's move toward the next slide. It's one concept again. What type of concept? Okay, this is a totally a different concept, whatever we have discussed till now, right? Now, whenever we have this type of condition, listen very carefully. When there is a condition, we have, let's say we have we have this condition simply. Let's say this is the condition. What is the condition here? We are selling two articles and at the same price. At the same price, we are selling two articles, right? Let's say it is mentioned here, if a person sells two similar articles, one at a gain of A%, another at a loss of A%, and then seller always incurs a loss, which is given by loss percent is equal to A by 10 to the whole square, right? What is the formula? Why we are using the formula, guys? Let's say in the exam time, you will find out, listen very carefully, very important concept. Let's say the selling price of first article is 139.75, right? And when we are selling the article at this price, we are getting a gain of 10%, right? And again, you are selling the same article at a price of 139.75, another article, and you are getting a loss of 10%. So if you will go toward the calculation, the calculation will take more time. So if you want to save your time, directly use this result, and you can say that A is what? A is this percent value. So we will simply say A is 10 here. So 10 by 10 is 1. So 1 square is 1. So simply you will say that 1% is our overall loss in this condition when there's a selling price of two article is same. Article are different, right? Article is similar here, or article are different. It depends on the condition, right? Okay. Now let's move toward the next part. Okay. So, but before moving toward the next part, because I think we have discussed sufficient part from the profit and loss, right? But before going toward the next part, okay, so let's I'm showing you the campus video. Okay, after that we will discuss the reasoning part. All right. And the campus video we have So I hope we have discussed many concepts from the profit and loss. Now we have to discuss some concept from the reasoning section, and the topic that I have chosen for the reasoning part is direction, right? So you have to some direction sense if you want to attempt question based on the direction, right? And for the content part, we have to discuss, first we will discuss the classification of direction, right? After that we will rotate some direction, right? And then the third we will use the concept of minimum distance, right? And in the last we will discuss the concept of shadow, right? So these are the four topics, subtopics that we have to discuss in the chapter direction, right? So let's move toward the next slide so that we can learn about some concept of classification of direction. Okay, so this is the classification of direction. What does it mean? What is the meaning of this classification of direction? So we have, so this is the diagram, right? So we all can see that this is the east, right? And this is the west. So this is a frame of reference that you have to use in each and every question whenever you will see question based on directions, right? So there is a north here, there is a west south here. So in between the northeast, there is a northeast, right? In between the north and west, there is a northwest. In between the south and west, there is a southwest. And between the south and east, there is a southeast, right? So this is the frame of reference that you have to use in each and every question, right, of the direction, right? So let's move toward the next slide. Is this right? The second part, we should be aware about the rotation, how to rotate. We are going in a clockwise direction, we are going in an anti-clockwise direction, what angle we will take, right? Let's say in the first diagram you can see that if we are going in a clockwise direction, right? Clockwise means clock is moving in this direction, right? So that's why we are saying this is a clockwise direction, right? So always remember the angle, this is a total is 90-degree angle between the east and the north, right? So it is a total angle of 90 degree, right? So in this is the, if you will, this is called the angle bisector of the north and east direction. This is called the northeast, and there's a 45-degree here and 45-degree here. Okay. In the same way, you will get 0, 45, 90, 135. Just add 45, 44, 45, and you will get the every degree. Let's say you are here, you will say this is 225 degree. From the starting point, let's say you are here right now, right? So you can simply count this angle is, we will start with a 0 here. So simply this is 180 degree. And if you will add 45 in that, this will become 225 degree, right? So in the same way, you can add 45, 45, 45 after every half rotation. Okay. And if you will talk about the left direction movement, and that is called the anti-clockwise rotation. All right. Let's say we have anti-clockwise rotation, means we are moving in a direction which is against the direction of clock, right? That's why this is called anti-clockwise, right? So that's why this is 0 here, 45 here, 90 here. We just add 45, 45, 45, you will get the exact degree, okay, at a particular moment. Okay. Now let's move toward the next slide of the topic, direction, so that you can aware. The next topic that I have mentioned in the content part is minimum distance. How to find out the minimum distance? It is just simply based on the Pythagoras theorem. Pythagoras theorem means what? Let's say we have 90-degree angle. We have 90-degree angle. And if we want to find out the shortest distance, what we have to find out? Let's say this is A, this is B. So how we can apply the Pythagoras theorem is just simply the under root of A square plus B square, right? It is simply the A square plus B square. This is called the Pythagoras theorem. And we can apply this theorem whenever we have to find out the shortest distance between the starting and the final point, right? So let's move toward the next part. Okay, the fourth topic in the content part I have mentioned, that is shadow part, right? And what is the meaning of that shadow part, right? And how to use that? Listen very carefully. Let's say we all know sun rises in the east, okay, and sun sets in the west, right? So what does it mean? Let's say you are looking toward the east direction. So if you are looking at the east direction, definitely your left at that side and your right is on this side, right? So you will say this is your left, this is your right. But if you're looking at the west direction and sun is rising right now, okay, so you're looking toward the west, right? You are looking in this direction. So if you're looking in this direction, what does it mean? This is right, this is left, right? So never confuse with the direction, right? Because if you will confuse with the direction, definitely your answer will be wrong. Okay. So let's say if you are looking toward the north, definitely your left in that side and your right is on that side. Okay. So if you're looking in that side, then definitely left is on this side and right is on this side, right? So this is the scenario that we have to use in each and every question of the direction sense, right? So let's take more concepts from this chapter, right? So like I have mentioned at the first slide, we have to just discuss the four concepts, and I have mentioned all the four concepts at the starting, right? So first we are taking the concept directly. Let's say during the sunrise time. During the sunrise time, the first concept we are discussing here right now, if a person facing towards sun, right? Let's say if this is the, let's say this is the frame of reference that I have mentioned at the starting. This is east, this is west, this is north, this is south, right? And it is mentioned person facing towards sun means person is looking toward this direction. So the shadow will be toward his back or in west. What does it mean? If sun is here, then definitely shadow will be at the back side of this person. That's why it is mentioned here. The shadow will be toward his back or its west, because the back side is the west direction. This is the point number one. Okay. Now the point number two is what? If a person facing towards south, let's say person is facing towards south. So we all know this is his left, this is his south, right, right. So if the person is facing towards south, the shadow will be toward his right. What does it mean? Then definitely during sun rising, its shadow will become in that direction. That's why the shadow direction will be its right. Okay. So this is the concept. Now the third part is the person facing west. Let's say the person is in this direction, looking at this direction. Okay. Then definitely his shadow will become at this point, right? And this is the front of this person. That's why the shadow will be toward his front, right? So this is the point number three. In the point number four, if a person facing toward north, it means the person facing toward north, and this is his left and this is his right. So you will simply say shadow will be on the left side, right? So there's a confusion always here. There's a no, if you are looking toward the north side, if you are looking toward the south side, okay. So always remember in which direction you are looking at, accordingly your shadow will become, right? So let's move toward the next part of the topic, direction. Okay. It's an example. Simply we are discussing one example so that you can better understand the scenario. Okay. Let's say the person is walking toward east. Simply again draw the frame of reference. This is the east, this is the west, this is north, this is south, right? The question is, the person is walking toward east. Let's say you are going in this direction toward east 50 meters, right? And then he turned toward his right, means this is right, and walks 100 meters, right? Now later in the journey, he turned toward his right, means this direction, and walks for 150 meters, right? This is 50, 100 more, right? 100, 150, right? Now, finally, he turned right, means this direction, walk 100 meters, means simply, finally, the person will come here, right? This is 100 mentioned here. Now, the question is, what is his final direction? The person is looking in this direction, and we all can see that as per the frame of reference, this is north direction. And what is the answer of this question? This is north direction. This is the final answer. Oh, okay. So these are the four steps that I have mentioned here so that you can better understand the scenario. Okay. So first scenario, second scenario, okay, the third scenario, and we have fourth scenario. Okay. So this is the concept you can use, okay, in every question of direction. Okay. Now let's move toward the next slide. So this is the question that you all have to solve, right? Simply draw the frame of reference diagram and try to find out the answer of this question. After that, I will solve it. Try to find out the answer for this question, because the question is based on the simple frame of reference that I have mentioned in the first slide. That I have mentioned in the first. Try to find out the answer of this question. Okay, just draw the frame of reference diagram. This is the frame of reference diagram we have. Simply draw this. The frame of reference east, west, north, and south, right? So now we know how to use the concept of frame of reference, right? So The man walked 5 kilometers towards south. So first we are moving here 5 and then turn to the right. So we can see that if you are moving here, your right is on that side, right? And after walking 3 kilometers, he turned to the left. Means this is the right, left, right, and walks 5 meters, right? Now the let's say person is here. Now the question is now in which direction is he from the starting place? Now if it is the person is here, the starting point is here, so simply you can see that this is the direction and this is nothing but southwest. So the option number D is the correct answer. Okay, so simply you can see that with the help of frame of reference, we can solve each and every question, right? So before beginning the next slide, okay, so let's take a simple campus tour. Okay, after that we will begin with the new question. All right, so give me 1 second. So I'm sharing a screen, and this is the video we have. All right, I hope the PPT is visible now to all of you. So after the campus tour, again, we are starting with the same slide at which I have left you all, right? So we have discussed this question. Now we have a new question, okay? The new question is this, right? Now the very simple rotation based question, right? In the content part, I have clearly mentioned we have to discuss rotation based question, right? So that's why I have mentioned here this question. So read the question first. The question is a man is facing toward west, right? So again, we will simply use the frame of reference diagram. After that, we will approach the question, right? Let's say simply east, west, north and south, right? Now, a man is facing toward west, right? Let's say the man is facing toward west and turns through 45-degree clockwise. So we all know this is the clockwise direction. So that's why this is mentioned here. The person turned 45-degree in this direction, right? Okay. And again, 180-degree clockwise. So from here, the person will come here, right? This is clockwise, the person will come here, right? And then turn through 270-degree anti-clockwise, means the person will go again in this direction. And 270 means what? 180 plus 90. So till here it is 180. And again, there's a 90-degree. So the person finally here. And the question is in which direction is he facing now? So again, we will use the frame of reference diagram. And this is the direction we have. We can see that. And this is southwest, so your answer will be southwest. And again, we can see that with the help of frame of reference diagram, we can easily find out the answer for a particular question, okay, which is from the direction, right? Let's take one more question so that we can better understand the scenario of this chapter. So this is the question, again, based on the rotation, right? Tell me the answer of this question in the comment section. After that, I will solve it for you. Give me the answer for this one. Same, the person is facing west, the clockwise movement, anti-clockwise movement, and you have to find out the answer. I will suggest you draw this diagram first, okay, so that you can get the answer easily. All right. So the question is, I am facing west. Okay, I am facing right now in the west direction, and I turn 90 clockwise in the 90-degree in the clockwise direction. So this is the 90-degree. So right now I'm looking at here, right? And then 135-degree in the anti-clockwise. So we all know 135 is what? 90 plus 45, right? So this is anti-clockwise. So from here to here, we are going to come here. Now 45 means we are come here, right? We are coming here, right? So this is the direction. This is the direction, right? This is the, because this is 90 degree and this is the 45 degree. This is 135 degree. This is the direction, and this direction is called southwest. That's why our answer will be what? Our answer will be southwest. Okay, so simply you can see that with the help of this diagram, we can move toward the clockwise direction, we can move toward the anti-clockwise direction, and finally we are getting the answer. Okay, so these are not so very hard question. Simply a single diagram is sufficient to solve each and every question from this chapter, right? So before that, so let's move toward the next slide. One more question in which we have to discuss the shortest distance concept, right? And that was the third subtopics of our content part, right? And what is the question? First, read it very carefully. The question is, Sandhya starting from her house and goes 4 kilometers in the east. So we all know if this is the east direction, this is the west direction, this is the north direction, this is the south direction. So what is the first diagram? We are going 4 kilometers in the east direction, right? Now she turned to her right. She turned to her right. Just one second. She turned to her right. Okay. And goes 3 kilometers. So this is the 3 kilometers again, right? And what is the shortest distance to reach her house? So this is the shortest distance. This is mentioned in the diagram, right? If this is mentioned in the diagram, so I have clearly mentioned whenever we have to find out the shortest distance, we have some logic, and that is called the Pythagoras theorem, right? And what is the Pythagoras theorem? Pythagoras theorem is what? You have taken the under root of what? The perpendicular side square with the addition of the shortest side square, right? So we can say that the simply 4 square plus 3 square, that the result you will get after this, that is called the hypotenuse, and the hypotenuse is called your minimum distance. Okay, and that is what you have to find out in this question, right? Now, after this question, we have the last question, okay, from the direction, and the question is this, and you will have to find out the answer of this question. Bolu started from his house toward north. After covering a distance of 8 kilometers, he turned toward left and covered a distance of 6 kilometers. What is the shorter distance now from his house? You have to find out the answer for this question. So simply you will apply the Pythagoras theorem. We all know how to apply the Pythagoras theorem, right? So how we can apply the Pythagoras theorem? Simply, Bolu started from his house toward north. Means if this is the north direction, we all know. After covering a distance of 8 kilometers, he turned toward left. I mean, this is the left, right? And covered a distance of 6 kilometers, right? Now, what is the shorter distance now from his house? Okay, so this is a shorter distance. Simply, you will apply the Pythagoras, and the Pythagoras says what? Take the under root of the two sides, the square root, the square of one side with the addition of the square of the other side. And simply, you will say this is 64, this is 36, and the under root of 100 is what? Under root of 100 we will get is 10. Okay, so the answer, final answer we have is what? A option, that is this. Okay, so today guys, we have discussed the two topics, one from the quant, that is profit and loss, and one from the reasoning section, that is direction sense, right? So tomorrow we have to again discuss three topics, one from the English part and the remaining two, one from the quant and one from the reasoning. Okay, so the topic we have to discuss from the quant section tomorrow, the topic is ratio, proportion and average, right? And from the reasoning section we have to discuss is sequence and series, right? And in the English we will discuss tomorrow the paragraph competition and inference, right? I hope you all will join again tomorrow and you will learn something new, right? Okay, but before leaving the session, I am sharing the campus video so that in the end you can visit the campus again, right? So I have shared a video. So let's meet again tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.